Hello and welcome to Free Advice Friday. My name is Keri Barnum. I'm the Executive Director of New Shelves Books, and we are here to talk about book marketing, publishing, to answer your questions live. You can join us any Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern at newshelves.com/FAF. We also do accept questions via email. You can send those to info@newshelves.com, and then we answer them on Friday. If you can't join us, that's okay. You can catch the replay over on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. It's just New Shelves Books over on youtube.com. We have quite a few emailed questions in, but we had a question that came up on the chat here. So if you are joining us live, we do a lot of chatting over on the sidebar because it's a community and that's what we like. And a question that came up from Walt was about branding yourself. And when you're branding yourself on your platforms, is it smart to just use your name? For example, the name Walt. Or is it smart to brand yourself as author? So author Walt, or, author Keri Barnum. And my personal opinion is to just brand your name. That is much more easy to brand. It's less wordy. It's less for people to remember. So I personally would just brand your name. However, I was on a call with a new client yesterday, and we were talking about his branding and email and website, and his name is Mike Clark, which is pretty common, right? Like that's something that a lot of people are probably gonna already have taken. MikeClark.com was already taken. Mike Clark Books was already taken. So we had to get a little creative. And in that case, we added author. So you can either add author Mike Clark or Mike Clark author. And that is when you may consider branding that way. I have another client or a couple clients who have done that. Chris, again, Chris is a pretty common name, as is his last name. So we've branded that way. So I wouldn't brand with any extras if you don't need to. But if your branding needs those extras because it's already taken or your name's a little bit more common, adding books or adding books or authors, something like that is where you go. And yes, then we have our fun-loving people over here who are like, my name will never be taken. And that's perfect. I mean, it works. So just do what works for you. But I would go as simple as possible, as close to your name as possible, because that's what people will remember. All right, Cher is asking, what exactly is a distribution plan? Good question. A distribution plan is how you plan to distribute your book. So when we're looking at distribution for a book, we are talking about how is your paperback book or your hardcover, your physical book going to be sold and get to the consumer? Are you planning on using Amazon? Are you going to upload your book to KDP for sales on Amazon? Are you using Ingram Spark? And who are you going to be selling to through Ingram Spark? Are you going to use that? Ingram Spark will sell over to Amazon if you're not using KDP. So are you using Ingram Spark as your distribution, or are you using a combination of KDP for Amazon and Ingram Spark for your wholesale market like bookstores and libraries? Same thing for your ebook. Where is it going to be sold through? Are you going to use KDP for Kindle? Are you going to use Draft to Digital in order to market over to Overdrive and Barnes & Noble and iBooks? Or essentially the same service can be done over at Ingram Spark or Smashwords, which is now owned by Draft to Digital now. Or you may choose to upload directly to each platform. You may choose to upload directly to Kobo, directly to iBooks, directly to Barnes & Noble. So that is what you need to know. That's your distribution plan, is how you're going to both sell and deliver your books. And so that when someone says, what's your distribution plan, that is what they are typically asking. See, a two-part question. Let's see, Pat, I'm getting ready to publish my second picture book and would like to gather a launch team to help gather reviews. If I set my sale date or publish date for September 14th, for example, on Amazon, when should I start gathering a launch team? And when should I make my ebook free for the launch team? How far ahead of the publish date? Pat, my personal philosophy is that the entire time that you're publishing or working on that new book, you should be kind of creating your launch team, asking people who you think might be interested, letting them know, you know, it's not coming for a really long time, but would you be interested in being part of my launch team in September? And telling them what that means in the simplest terms possible. So as part of my launch team, all it means is you get a free copy of my book, and I ask that you do go online and you review it. If you're willing to share things on social media, anything like that, it's lovely, but really all it is will you accept a free copy of the book and then leave an honest review online. Making sure that you are laying out the terms of what your expectations are is very important. Number one, because when you say launch team, some people might be thinking, "Oh, that's a commitment." You know, like it's like when I got roped into being part of the boosters team for my daughter's orchestra. I was like, "Oh, that sounds like a lot of work," and they're like, "No, no, no, it's a once a month meeting, and then you just volunteer when we already have events that you're going to be at." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I could probably do that." Now they want me to be president. See, this is how we get roped in. But that's the kind of idea, is that the more simple that you can make it and the easier you can explain this, the better. That's not to say that you won't send or post something and say, "Hey, here's a social media graphic. If you're willing to share it, I'd appreciate it." But make sure you've got that basic level of where just take a book and review, and I am so grateful. And you start building that list early. So you have a list somewhere in your computer, or, you know, a spreadsheet, Word doc, whatever works for you. You have a list of people who are willing to do this. And then when your book gets closer, how soon you give them a free book depends on how long your book is. Pat, I know you have a picture book, so people won't need very long to read that. So I would say send them an email in the next week or two saying, "The book is going to launch on September 14th. I will be getting your copy to you a week ahead of time on September 7th. That way you have a week to look through it and create your review, and you can just drop it in." And in that way, they know it's coming. They can plan their time accordingly, and they know when they're going to get the book, and they know what your expectation is as far as when they post it. The book goes live on the 14th. So if you can take that week in between to get that ready and be able to drop it on the day it goes live, I'd be grateful. Not everyone will do it. Some people will do it late. Some people will forget, not do it at all. But giving them those kind of benchmarks and goal marks are very helpful. Now, if you have a bigger book, let's say you're doing a chapter book, or I'm working on a book where we have quite a large review team for a young adult fiction book. And so it's fiction. It's kind of an easy read. We are still giving those people a month to read the book, or almost a month. So what we're doing is we are telling them, "Hey guys, we've got something really big coming September 7th. So you should be on the lookout." Wink, wink. I can't even wink. My eyes are all crazy from migraines. But you get the point. They know it's coming. And then they know that the hope and the expectation is that they allot their time. So over the next month, they can read the book, they can review it, and then they can drop that on our launch date. What we don't want to do is give people too much time. If you give people a book 3 months before your book launches, they may read it, they may love it, and then they're going to forget about it. So if you are giving them if you're giving them the book 3 months ahead of time and hoping they'll leave a review on Amazon 3 months later, even though they may have the best of intentions, chances are they would have forgotten the book by then, and they would have moved on from thinking about leaving your review by then. So you really need to make sure that you are staying in touch and you're not doing things too early. It's a little bit of a balancing act. Again, it depends on your book. If you have a nonfiction book, people typically move through those more slowly. Again, give them time. But around a month is about the sweet spot of how early I would intend to get it, especially if you've given them advance notice. Hopefully that helps answer that question there. What format of the free book should you send? That is a Excellent question. It depends on you. You may do a mixture of physical books and ebooks, or you can do all ebooks. Typically, ebooks are very much accepted, and that is what I typically send out, especially for a fiction book or something that doesn't matter for, you don't need the book. Now, if you have a picture book and you're hoping that people are actually going to read it to their kids and get that kind of feedback, or pictures for Instagram, something like that, you would want to send them a physical book. But it's typically expected and accepted that you would be sending over a digital copy. I do recommend that you offer a PDF and an ebook. Sometimes people say, well, I'm just going to do a PDF. The problem there is that if these are not industry people, if they are just readers, they probably are not equipped to read a PDF, especially if it's a longer book. If they're doing so, it probably has to be on their computer. And I will tell you, as someone who reads PDFs on my computer, because I give feedback to authors sometimes, when I do that, I'm carrying around my whole laptop like it's a Kindle, and it makes it a little bit difficult. And so you will lose readers that way. If you're hoping just for general reader reviews, make sure you provide them with an ebook file. Make it easy for them to do the things that you're asking for them to do for you as a favor. But again, you don't have to do a bunch of print books, and it's much cheaper not to do a bunch of print books. Every once in a while, you'll have someone ask. I have someone on a review team I work with who regularly, almost every book, she will ask for a print book because she is sight impaired, and it's very hard for her to look at the screen for that. But I'll say that person leaves a review every single time. They share on social media every single time. So it's absolutely worth it to, the $5 for the book. Just depends on your team and your book. All right, I'm going to hop over to one of our email questions. Eileen had a question about publishing and agents. And she said, I'm looking to republish my book, and I'd like to go with Ingram Spark for my printing. I'm still looking for an agent, and I'm wondering if I necessarily need an agent if I'm self-publishing. And the answer is no. If you intend to self-publish, you do not need an agent. You may want to invest in a consultant, someone who can help you publish your book, who can help you meet the standards and help get those things set up for you. So that's something that New Shelves actually does, and I do, where I will work with authors who are self-publishing their own accounts, but I look over their files with them and make sure that they'll meet specs. If they need introductions to cover designers or formatters, then I help get them connected. If they have questions about what their book distribution should be and printing and things like that, I answer them. So that may be something that you may want to consider depending on you. Or maybe you are very confident now that you have been in it for a while and you've been learning, and you don't need a consultant, but you certainly don't need an agent to self-publish. You need an agent if you're looking to be pitched to traditional houses or for a publisher. And I will say, if the book's already been published, an agent's probably not going to pick it up. So I would go firmly and confidently into that self-publishing world, either by yourself or working with a consultant, or there's lots of Facebook groups and things that have a lot of great advice. Of course, Free Advice Fridays and things like that, that you can learn what you need to, if that's more of what you can afford and what works for you personally. I got that one done. Thank you, Felice. Yes, I love working with authors on that consulting, because I mean, you guys, you do the work. My job is to be your cheerleader, maybe a little bit of psychiatric help as I calm you down, but really to make sure that you can confidently push buttons. I have people who are like, well, I'm not sure. Did I ruin it? Did I not? I like to help be there and be like, okay, this is what we're going to do. Give you a roadmap to make sure that you know exactly what you're doing and you can have the best launch possible. I see so often in self-publishing, one of the biggest things, the biggest heartaches I see is people who don't self-publish well the first time, and then they're republishing their books and they're redoing things, which ends up being pretty darn costly, and also it makes your launch slower. It's not the book you dreamed of. And if you're redoing and if you're doing and redoing and redoing and redoing, then it adds up. It adds up as far as your costs go. So sometimes getting some great consulting or getting someone on your side who can help guide you in the beginning actually saves you a lot of money. And also it's something that, you know, it helps you learn and be very specific to your book. I do. I had a consulting call this week. I see you on, but I won't call you out. And I was like, okay, the doctor's in, let's chat. And it's totally, you need someone in your corner who gets it. Because I have people in my life who absolutely love me, who support me. But when I am talking the business of books, it's like blank stare. Like my husband, he'll listen. He's like, yeah. Oh no, but he doesn't get it. He can't worry with me and he can't calm me down with it because he doesn't get it. Bless the man, he does. Like after years, he can talk about cover design and audiobooks and things, but he's limited. So it helps to have a friend in the industry. I even have industry friends who will chat with. So I love it. Thanks, Randy. I'm glad it's a happy one. All right. Yes. So to go back to the review copies in your launch team, if you are trying to submit for certain contests, for book bloggers, for social media posts, that kind of thing, book tours, they will want printed copies. So that definitely you want to consider, but that's a little bit different than your average, your launch team. That's part of your marketing and that's part of your launch, but that's not necessarily part of like your ARC team that you're just trying to get online reviews. So make sure you know the difference so you can plan accordingly. Absolutely. All right. When authors buy their own books, how does that work? Is there a discount? How many should we buy? If you are self-publishing, so if you are the publisher, then you can buy your books at print cost and you buy them directly from either KDP, Ingram Spark, or wherever you're printing from. So for example, I have an author, we were looking at print prices yesterday. If he buys books directly from, and this is, I should know more about this. I want to say this is like, let's call it a 360 page book. I don't know. Anyway, if he buys them directly from KDP and he gets them either as one or in mass quantities, he is paying $4.71 per book. Now, this is a book that is going to market at $17.99. So you do not pay the retail price. You're paying the print price. So he buys them for $4.71 through KDP. If you'd like to buy them through Ingram Spark's printing can be, in some cases, a little bit nicer. Depends on the book. The quality sometimes is a little bit higher, especially if you're buying in bulk. But that's for the trained eye. I'll be completely honest that if you are not comparing the two, or if you don't look at books all the time, you probably wouldn't notice the difference as much. So if he buys books directly from Ingram Spark, he again is just paying the print cost, but his book is almost, it was $4.71 on KDP and it was $5.90, I think, on Ingram Spark. It was almost $1 more. So that's something to consider as well, plus the handling fee and the shipping fee, which both KDP does charge shipping, as does Ingram Spark. So just those things to consider when you're buying books. And again, you have to know what's what for your own book, but you're not paying retail costs. You are paying your print cost. Now, if you are an author who is published, many times your publisher will offer you a discount. I've seen that be anywhere from 10% to 40%, just depends. And then usually a publisher will give you a certain number of books for free. Yes. Yes, Ingram Spark does charge a $2 charge per order, no matter the quantity. So they do have different fees worked in there. They have like warehouse fees and stuff like that. So things to consider if you're ordering books. All right, an email, back to our emails. All right, this one is from Meredith. All right, Meredith had a question. about copywriting, and it got us to thinking, because we've been talking about copyright a couple of times over the last couple of weeks, and it got Meredith to thinking about her reader magnet. So she'd like to offer a reader magnet on her website to give it away to get people to sign up for her mailing list. 2 thumbs up. I highly approve of this idea. But there was a question of not wanting anyone to take advantage and steal that intellectual property. So the question is, what's the best way to protect your creative work when you're using a leader magnet? So can you actually submit for a copyright through the Copyright Office? Yes, you can. The Copyright Office is for books, but you can also do, I want to say there's a certain number. I don't remember what it is. It's either 10 or 40, but that's a pretty big difference. But if you go through the Copyright Office, you can submit like one entire book, or you can submit a number of short stories or short pieces in one go for the Copyright Office. So you may do that, and there's fees and things involved, but then you have official copyright. However, in the US, and generally, this is generally worldwide, but again, everyone's got their nuances. But in the US, once you have written a work and you have publicly put it out there, you've put it out anywhere, it is technically copyrighted according to US law, meaning that even if you have not filed with the Copyright Office, that you can, if you wanted to, go and fight for that. So that is something that you're already kind of innately protected. It's like when we have our immune systems, right? When you're born, you already kind of have your own immune system, and then we get immunizations and we can do other things to boost our immune system. When you write anything, when you write a blog, when you write a book, when you write anything, and it is yours, it is immediately copyrighted to you. It's just not going to be filed in the Copyright Office. So that's why we copyright our books, because if anything happens, if anything happens, if you need to pursue that, having that filed at the Copyright Office will make it easier on you. So that's something to consider. For general lead magnets for blog, like I don't send in every blog post to the Copyright Office. It would just take forever. And honestly, if someone's going to work that hard for it, and I have seen that. I have seen some of my words show up under other people's names. And I could pursue that if I wanted to, but you also have to think about how much and how far you're willing to go. To write a cease and desist letter is not that hard, but if it comes to lawyers and things, how much money and effort are you really willing to put into for a small blog piece or something like that? So there are some innate protections in there, but it just, it's options. And yes, as Tara pointed out, the damages you're entitled to are significantly less if you haven't registered the copyright. So there are benefits to copywriting, and I certainly would your books. Absolutely, positively would copyright your books. But if we are talking about small pieces or a short story, something like that, you can or you can't. It's up to you. But there's always a risk, but it's not something I'd over worry about too much. You can cease and desist. You can put it out there. You can copyright it. And I hope that helps. It's still a personal decision. It's one of those things. How much is it worth to you? Are you willing to put it out there? Are you willing to pay the $65 for the fee? If so, absolutely put it through the Copyright Office. But also know that you're only going to get damages if you pursue it, which may mean legal action, which may mean paying a lawyer. Lawyers are expensive. So how much is it worth to you? And you kind of think through that process and you make the decision that's right for you and your business. All right, let me see. I haven't been invited to be a guest on a game. Oh, I have been. I was like, oh, well, that's sad. All right, well, I have been invited to be a guest on a gaming podcast, which is cool. The podcaster wants me to talk about the actual history related to games set in Japanese history. The podcaster sent me links, as he knows I'm not a gamer and I will be studying the links. However, can you think of anything else I should do to prepare? Yes. So number one, if you're going on a podcast, go listen to that podcast. You don't have to listen to whole episodes, but listen to at least, I don't know, a 5-minute snippet from several different podcasts that they've recorded. Number one, to get a feel for the questions they ask, for the tone, and what kind of personality they tend to have on. Number two, in this instant, Walt, since you're not a gamer, I would highly recommend Googling an article about, just Google the name of a game and like 2022. There are forums and forums and forums. Do not spend your entire life on here, but browse through and see what may be coming up on those forums. And I also highly recommend you take yourself over to YouTube and you do a search for that. Believe it or not, there are people who just play these games online and they stream them on YouTube for hours. There's this big one. I'm ashamed I even know this. There's this big one where this gamer streamed for an entire 24 hours. 24 hours, and he had people watching, thousands of people watching for an entire 24 hours as he gamed. There is a big following for this. So I bet that if you go to YouTube and if you do search the game plus streaming or something like that, you will be able to find it. Watch a couple minutes of it. Again, just little snippets here, but watching a couple minutes of it so you can get the idea of, you know, what the graphics are like, how much the history actually plays in. So you can kind of not knowledgeably, but you can BS your way through some of the gaming stuff. I definitely recommend that for this specific topic. Now, sometimes if you're doing a different podcast and it's not video games, that may not work. But the idea is you don't have to know, if you're a guest on their podcast, they're not bringing you on to know everything about video games. They're bringing you on to share what you know that complements what they know. But it's so helpful to have a general idea of what they're talking about. So for example, when I get invited to be on a suspense podcast, or I get invited to talk to a group of romance writers, I'm going to kind of get in the headspace of romance writing or mystery writing. I may do a little research of what's trending in that area. So I can speak knowledgeably not only on what I know, but also I can feed back into what their general topic and audience is. And again, no one's expecting you to be a pro at video games, but having some feel of what they are in general is probably a good idea. So you can speak their language a little bit. Let's see. Cher's asking about press releases. Her research, she thinks that 24/7 used to be the most affordable for a press release launch, which we've talked about, at $139 for the Pro Kit. But the question is, when do I recommend sending out a press release before your launch? So let's talk about that. If you are local, I recommend that you send your local press releases out about a month in advance, meaning give them the time to plan. Most newspapers are not planning well in advance. However, if you're hoping to get a feature, an interview, something like that, I would pitch those about a month in advance, send it to them, let them know you have a new book coming out and you would love to be featured or interviewed if they have any interest. That way, they have time to decide if they want to reprint the press release, and also if they do want to do an interview, they have the time to schedule that and actually get it done. For your general press release, I recommend that you do it anywhere from 2 to 3 months in advance to announce the book, and then also do one the week of your launch. Now, if you're kind of too far out or you don't want to do two, just stick to the week of your launch. Keeping in mind that, yeah, we want the book to either be up on pre-order or we want it to be available for order, but the idea is not that this is necessarily going to turn around into sales. We've talked about this. A press release is more of a PR step. It's a billboard. It's getting SEO out there. It's telling people that the book exists. So if they Google, they will find you somewhere. But it's not so much hoping that people will literally en masse go over to Amazon or their local bookstore and ask for the book. That's not really the point of a press release. It's simply to build some buzz. So if you're going to do about 2 to 3 months out, announcing that the book is coming, and then another one the launch week of the book. If you're just doing one, stick to the launch week of the book. Or if there's some specific holiday or something that you're trying to tie into, then you may do it then. And that's the general rule of thumb that I personally use. See, if your nonfiction book is short, won't it get lost if you do a smaller trim size on bookstore shelves of bigger books? So in this scenario, the question is, if you're doing a trim size that's smaller than is standard in your genre, won't it get lost? It may get lost, yeah, because it's going to be smaller. Keeping in mind that most bookstore shelves are going to be showing you the spines, though, not necessarily unless it's a lot smaller. If it's a 1/2 inch smaller, not so much. But if every book in your genre is one size, then I highly recommend that you consider formatting at that size. If that is everything you're seeing in your genre, go with the bigger size. That makes sense. That's what our market research is for. If it's kind of some are one size, some are the other size, or children's books, which are kind of all over the place, well, then you can kind of pick what works best for you. But if you're specifically going into a genre like memoirs, almost every single memoir is a 6x9. So I highly recommend, if you're doing a memoir, go with a 6x9. Do not go by 5x8. Do not think, oh, I'm going to stand out, because you will stand out, but in a negative way. You will not look like a pro. And that's what we are all about here at New Shelves and Free Advice Fridays. I don't care if you traditionally, hybrid, or indie publish. I care if you professionally publish, if the product you put out is professional and can stand up on the shelves with any other book out there. And that's what I recommend, that we think in the professional realm. And if every book in your genre is one trim size, you should follow that trend. We're not here to be trendsetters in that way. Your writing, absolutely, put a twist on it, be that trend. But as far as the packaging, we need to follow some basic norms and things like trim size so that we can stand out in a good way, not a negative way. I've got 2 more emails. Let's see. All right. I had a question from Marla this week, and the question from Marla was about offset print. And the question was, if we're doing offset print for a book for any reason, let's say specific color, or I want the book to be printed with embossing on the cover or extras, whatever it is. If I'm doing offset print, what are my options for selling on Amazon? So if you're doing offset print, if you're taking your book to a printer and having them print 500 copies, 1,000 copies, 2,000 copies, you have a couple of options for distribution, which we talked about at the beginning of our call today. So for Amazon specifically, you can do Amazon Seller Central, which is where you're creating a seller account, kind of for us old schoolers going back to like eBay or something like that. You create a seller account and then you list your book for sale. When you do this, you become the seller, but through Amazon's protections for both you and the buyer. So people can browse, they can find your book, they can buy it, but when they buy it, it's not fulfilled by Amazon. What happens is that you actually are, it's coming to you and you are responsible for shipping that book. So make sure that if you're doing that, that you are prepared to ship, that you're prepared to fulfill orders quickly and get those things out. There are also Amazon Advantage accounts, which is a bigger account where you can do that. But it all pretty much works the same way. There are certain programs where you can actually sell directly to Amazon and they will ship it out, but it all depends on how big your orders are and how much they want your product. So Seller Central is the most common one. Other options for Amazon for offset print include working with a book distributor. Now, you may want to do this anyway if you're offset print, because if you're offset print, all sales are going to come through you. somehow, whether that is going to your website and being fulfilled by Shopify, which is like a drop ship place where you still have to have a book distributor or a warehouse somewhere. If you're with Amazon, you're going to have to fulfill those because the sales come to you and so on and so forth. So you need either a warehouse partner or a distributor if you want to really sell a nice quantity of books with offset print. Now, what a lot of authors do is work with a book distributor. That is someone who will take copies of your book, they will warehouse them, they will keep them, and then they sell them directly into the wholesale market. So for example, if you work with Pathway Books, who is a distributor I've worked with many times, they will get your offset print book into Baker and Taylor. They will get your offset print book into Ingram, into Amazon. They will handle all of that. They're essentially your middleman getting the book everywhere, and they will warehouse, and when the orders come in, it comes to them and they ship out appropriately. And it works really well for some authors who need offset print. For example, I have a client that I've worked with on and off for years who has cookbooks. Offset print just makes so much more sense for her. And so she uses a book distributor, and it works out just lovely for her, and it makes sense. Now, for the average author who's doing text-heavy books, like we're doing novels or things like that, it does not make sense because it's a lot more money up front than doing print on demand, which is why print on demand is so popular. You can have your books printed, and then you can simply just have them, you don't pay anything. When you upload your books, it sits online, and when a book is ordered, they take the printing cost and delivery cost, whatever they want, out of it, and you just get your profits. If you're doing offset print, you are paying for 1,000 books to be printed in advance. And then you're paying for warehousing and distribution, and you're hoping that you sell all thousands of those books so that you make your money back and then hopefully make a profit. So there are some considerations there. And again, that's why print on demand is so popular for a lot of novels and things like that, without knowing how many you'll sell. And again, there's just less risk up front. So it all goes down to your goals, your business goals. But if you're looking to sell offset print on Amazon, it's Seller Central account or working with a warehouse or a book distributor to make sure that those books get sent out. Boom, boom. All right, last question here on email from Wendy. Wendy asked a question about what Humble Bundle is. Humble Bundle, recently Drafted Digital sent out an email saying that they were now partnering with Humble Bundle. She was asking exactly what it is. So Humble Bundle is a website platform or an online platform that is known for bundling and selling things together, games, software, ebooks. But the idea of it is rather than setting a price and selling it, like on Amazon, my book is $9.99. That is the price it's going to be for ebook. The idea with Humble Bundle is that people pay what they want. So they could pay you $1. They may pay you $100. It's that idea of give what you can. Sometimes it works out really well if you're really trying to spread the word and you're just trying to get the book out there. It can be bundled with other books. So it's essentially, it's a use for two reasons, either a marketing tactic that can be used to kind of give people things at whatever price they can pay and kind of put that equality out there. Or it's used simply because you don't really care how much you're making on it. You care more that people can get it. And it's that community vibe and aspect of give what you can. And so it's something that may fit for your needs. It might not. Humble Bundle certainly does not work if you have a Kindle Unlimited book, because Kindle Unlimited is exclusive books for Amazon. But it may work for you. I have seen this kind of platform work well for books that are on community projects, for books that are more important to the author to just get it out. I have one author who wrote a book on grief, and yes, she was selling it. She wanted to make back her cost, but really every dime that she made on that, it was to cover her cost and then to market or give away more books. So this kind of platform works really well for her because she cares more about people getting the book than really building a building a platform off of that specifically, and making a business and a profit on those books. So it works for her. It won't work for everybody, but it's certainly neat that they have more services coming out on Draft to Digital. They are constantly adding new things. They're still doing a lot with them. They're beta printing and stuff like that. So they are developing, and I think it's cool that they've got new opportunities. If it's good fit for you, you can certainly check it out. Just search on Humble Bundle, or I believe that they did a blog on it on Draft to Digital that you can look up for yourself. Another question, let's see. Share, buying ISBNs and barcodes is very confusing. Do you buy these separate? Which option do you suggest we choose on the Valkyr site? Because they also try to get you to buy the copyright. Yes, so it's completely up to you. Valkyr, in the US, we have Valkyr, which is myidentifiers.com, which is where we can legally buy our own ISBNs. So I highly recommend you buy ISBNs, and typically, if you're publishing a book, I recommend you buy the pack of 10 at minimum. 10 ISBNs is $295, making them about 30 bucks a piece. Keeping in mind that when you are publishing a book, each format of your book needs its own ISBN. So if you have an ebook, that's one ISBN. Hardcover, another ISBN. Paperback, there's another one. Audio, that's another one. So one book could have 4 ISBNs. So you definitely do want to buy them in bundle. Do not buy them one at a time. You will end up paying much more. I want to say if you use 2 ISBNs, then you've kind of paid for the bundle price. So you definitely want to use that bundle. As far as barcodes, if you want them to make your barcodes for you, because I do recommend, if you hope to get into retail stores, if you hope to get into gift shops, bookstores, retail stores, airport stores, you need a priced barcode. If you would like to have Valkyr make them, they do offer that service. It's not very expensive. I don't remember exactly what it costs right now, but you can buy them in bulk. So you can buy 10 ISBNs and 10 barcodes, and then they generate those out for you. And you can do it that way. I also, if you go to YouTube, I do have a video that is how to make your own price barcode for free. It'll take you about 10 minutes. So if you don't have the extra money to invest, or you simply don't want to spend the money, you certainly can make your own price barcode for free and put it on your book. I will drop that link into our YouTube chat so you can peruse it. But again, it's, if it's really convenient and you don't mind paying the money for the barcodes, sure, it's a legitimate service, or you can make your own. As far as copyright, again, you can go through the copyright office yourself. All of the documents, like everything you need, is online on the US government copyright website, where you can submit your own copyright, wham, bam, done, and you kind of do it on your own. Valkyr, however, has said, hey, we have a program that walks you step by step through the process. We manage it for you. So you pay us a little bit extra, and we will file that copyright on your behalf. Just fill out this program. Some people find that easier. Some people get a little overwhelmed by the idea of going through the copyright office. So if that's you and you're like, oh, I don't know, you can pay a copyright lawyer, yes, but again, lawyers are expensive. It is a less expensive option to use the Valkyr system to do your copyright. If you feel like you need a little assistance but not a lawyer, then it's a very legitimate thing. If it's convenient for you, go for it. It's just all about what it's worth to you, but it's something they offer. It's a convenience thing. Is it worth it or not is completely up to you. And you can go outside of that and save some money. Just depends on what works best for you and if the convenience is worth the cost, honestly. Is there a copyright page template for books? I'm sure you can Google and find one. You can even pick up a book and just look at their copyright page and kind of go off of that. If you're working with a book formatter that has been in the industry for a while, many times they will have a copyright suggestion or standard that they will give you and ask you to just fill in. So you can absolutely find those. It's not hard. I can't say that I personally have, I mean, I have one that I've used, but I don't have one up anywhere. But I know that if you search, you'll find those. And again, pick up any book and see the basics. You need the, you know, the title, the copyright information for you, that it cannot be shared except for short excerpts. You need the ISBNs, the publisher's name, and kind of the basics like that. If you're doing a PCIP block, then that goes in the copyright page as well. Not too hard, I promise. What day of the week is best for an online event? That depends on your audience. Typically, online events do well, not posts, but events. They typically do well either on weekend mornings, not too early, like 9, 10 a.m. Weekend mornings, or more often than not, weekday nights. And the reason why, if it's an online event, people are usually home on weekend nights. They aren't always home on the weekend. That's when we have plans. That's when we're up and about and doing chores. So nights can do very well for online events. I would say Mondays and Fridays are probably not your day. Mondays is when we're all overwhelmed because we had to just go adult today. And then Fridays is the day when everyone's starting their weekend and going out and doing things. So I would look at Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday nights. Typically, if you're going to do it, think past dinner time. So somewhere between 7 to 8 p.m. tends to be a sweet spot. Of course, it depends. Are you trying to hit multiple time zones and things like that? You've got to look at that. If you have an event that will like when I do webinars, I do them during the day, but we do replays. So we're not so much reliant on in-person interaction. We do a lot of replays and things like that. So it just depends on your event as well. The Ingram Spark eProof looks good, but some photos were flagged for being below 150 PPI. How do I order a physical proof from Ingram before approving? Or should I load it into KDP and order one there? So you have two options. You can load it into KDP and order one there. You can request a proof. You can go in and you can email them and request a proof. You can also approve the file, but only for you to order, not for distribution. And then you can order that there. But if you are not a member of IPBA or Ally, somewhere where you get the code where it's free, if the files are a problem and you've got to upload revised files, it's a $25 fee. So keep that in mind. If you're an IBPA or an Ally member, not a big deal. You've got a code that will take care of that revision fee for you when you upload a new file. And that's what I would do. Approve it, but for your account only, not for print and distribution, which you can of course change later. But if not, if you don't have that, it's going to be a $25 fee if you decide, ooh, those images will not work. So you want to reach out to them and ask about a printed proof. They used to make it really easy and have like a button right there, and now it's not so much anymore. But you can still get a printed proof if you ask. All right, you guys. Well, it's right at the top of the hour or close to it. So if you have any last minute questions, let me know. I'm happy to answer those. Otherwise, we will be back next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. I can't believe it. We're towards the end of August and school's going to be starting soon. So I hope everyone enjoys the last couple of rays of sunshine. Look, I'm acting like it's about to be snowing tomorrow, but that's what it feels like in New York. It does. It feels like it's like, oh, it's warm, it's sunny. And then like a leaf falls and suddenly we've got like 5 feet of snow. But I appreciate you guys. It's always a fun time. We'll see you next Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern. If you have questions, join us live or email them in info@newshelves.com. I save those up for the following week. And of course, we've got a replay on YouTube. We will see you next time. Bye.